so that they can be loaded into the smaller cache size and they can be effectively used. That is, the memory cache can be effectively used because of the nature of dividing the problem into subproblems. So these are some of the many advantages of the divide and conquer category of the algorithms. So you must be already familiar with this. So you must be already familiar with this binary search. So binary search comes under the category of the divide and conquer algorithm. So divide and conquer, in the sense here we can more specifically call it as decrease and conquer, because it decreases the size of the array and works on the particular part of the array. And this binary search is applied on sorted arrays, and it is faster than the linear search. And the time complexity is order of log n, where in the case of linear search it is order of n. So I hope you should be familiar with this binary search algorithm. So given an array, say A, with n elements, the target T will be searched in the given array of n elements, where L is the index of the leftmost element and right is R is the index of the rightmost element. So initially L is equal to 0 and R is equal to n minus 1. So it iterates up to L less than equal to R. So first it finds the middle element, that is L plus R by 2, and rounds it off. If the middle element is less than the target element, then the search will proceed in the second half of the array. That is, left will be incremented to middle plus 1. If the middle element is greater than the if the middle element is greater than the target element, then obviously the target should be in the first half of the array. So the right is decremented to m minus 1. Or otherwise, if the middle element matches the target element, then the middle element will be returned. Otherwise, it will keep looking into either the first half or second half of each of the divided arrays or the decreased arrays. And sometimes there is also a chance that the search target element is not available in the given array, so it will return unsuccessful or something like that. So coming to an example for this binary search, an array of elements, say 5 elements, and in that 5 elements, the number 1 is going to be identified. So here we have the 5 elements with index 0 to 4, and say values of these 5 elements are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we initially assume that the index 0 is low and the index n minus 1 is the high. Then the mid is calculated. If the target value is on the first half, then the search proceeds in the first half. If the target value is in the second half, then the search proceeds in the second half. So since 1 is less than the mid element 3, the search proceeds in the first half. So in the first half, again, the low and high are assigned and the mid is calculated. So since here mid matches the target value, the mid element is returned as the target element, and the index of the mid element will be returned. So I hope you are already aware of this binary search algorithm. So search by this type of divide and conquer is more effective when compared to the normal linear search. And then another example, finding the maximum and minimum element in a given array. So generally, the procedure without divide and conquer would be something like this. So given an array, so what will be the value of the what will be the highest value and the least value in the given array? So one general approach that can be used is that assign the first element in the array as both max as well as min, and perform the search from the second element to the last element. So because you have already assumed that first element could be max and min, so start the search from the second element till the last element. So if there is any number greater than the current max, then make the number as the maximum. And similarly, if you find any number lesser than the minimum value, make it as the minimum. And this is repeated for all the n minus 1 elements in the array. Finally, the max and min are returned. So here, if you observe, the number of comparisons are 2n minus 2. It is something like 2 into n minus 1. Because n minus 1 comparisons are made, because the search here starts from the second to the nth element. So n minus 1 comparisons are made, and it is made two times, one for max and one for min. So 2 times n minus 1. So that many number of comparisons are made. So when coming to the time complexity, ignoring the lower order terms and constants and considering only the higher order term, the time complexity will be equal to order of n. So this is the general way of solving a problem, something like finding the max and min in the given array. When it comes to the divide and conquer method, so the divide and conquer method will divide the given problem into subproblems, and it will calculate the subsolutions and finally merge the subsolutions into the final solution. So this is the divide and conquer approach for the max and min. So here, assume that you have an array of elements that starts with index x and ends with index y. So y minus x plus 1 will give you the total number of elements in an array. Say for example, you have an array with 5 elements. The index starts with 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this will be x and this will be y. So y minus x plus 1 will give the total number of elements in the array. So here x and y indicate the indices of the first and last elements in the array. So for this divide and conquer approach, the problem is going to be divided into two halves. That is, it is going to calculate the midpoint. Calculate the midpoint and break the array into two. So first half, again max min will be called, and again for the second half, the same function will be recursively called. So this will keep happening until this condition is satisfied. So this condition says that if you have one element or two element, then you can stop the recursive call. Why one element or two element? So if there is only one element in the subproblem, obviously that element will be the max as well as the min. And if there are two elements, one is going to be max and the other one is going to be min. So that is why it is written like y minus x less than equal to 1. Less than equal to 1 means it means 0 as well as 1. Y minus x is equal to 0 or y minus x is equal to 1. So when there are one or two elements in the subarray, then you can stop calling the recursion and you can return the maximum values. So let me explain this algorithm with an example. So here there is an array of say 9 elements. Now this algorithm will find out the midpoint and divide the array into two halves. So 1 to 9 is the actual indices. This array is going to be divided into two halves, that is 1 to 5 and 6 to 9. Again this 1 to 5 will be divided into two halves, that is 1 to 3 and 4 to 5. And this 6 to 9 again will be divided into 6 to 7 and 8 to 9. So in these cases it will not further call the recursion because there are only two elements here, 8 9, and in this case 6 and 7, here in this case 4 and 5, but in this case there are three elements, 1 2 and 3. So it will again recursively divide this into two halves, that is 1 2 and 3. Now having divided the given array into subarrays, it will find out the maximum and minimum value in each of the subarrays. So among 1 and 2, it will return the max and min. So among 1 and 2, 22 is the max and 13 is the min. And with respect to the third element, there is only one element. So the same element will be the max as well as the min value. Now, after completing these two statements, it has to return the max of these two max of these two max, and the min of these two min. That is what is the statement, return statement. So the max of 22 and minus 5 is 22, and the min of 13 and minus 5 is minus 5. Similarly, among 4 and 5, it identifies the max and min, 15 and minus 8. And again, this one, which called the recursive function, has to choose the max of the max and min of the min. That is among 22 and 15, it will choose the max as 22. And among minus 5 and minus 8, it will choose minus 8 as the minimum. And similarly here again, among 6 and 7, the max and min are chosen. And similarly among 8 and 9, max and min are chosen. And then among these two max, the maximum value is chosen as the max here. And among 17 and 31, the minimum value is chosen. Now this again has to execute this return value. So this value will be written here. That is among 22 and 60, the maximum will be written here. And among minus 8 and 17, the smallest value will be written as the min value. So finally, after the algorithm terminates, will return 60 as the max value and minus 8 as the min value. So this is how the divide and conquer will divide the problem into subproblems, and it will solve the subproblems individually, and finally it will merge the results. So how is this beneficial? So I'll try to explain how this is beneficial or how this divide and conquer has an upper hand on the normal method, but you cannot exactly visualize to what extent it is better than the normal method because it is not a very big complex problem, it is a very simple problem. So this you can clearly visualize when we are taking some real time complex problems. So since it is a simple problem, anyway I'll try to convince the argument that divide and conquer is better than the normal method. Now, so this is a recursive procedure. So when it comes to recursive procedure, I've told you how to write the equation for the recursive function. So here, how this equation is written: 2 times n by 2 plus 2. So if you observe here, so here the recursion is called 2 times, once here and once here. And every time half of the elements are given to each of the recursive calls. So it is n by 2 plus n by 2. So 2 times t of n by 2. N by 2 plus n by 2. So 2 times t of n by 2. And here there is one max and min operation performed. So 2. So 2 times t of n by 2 plus 2. That is what is written here. 2 times t of n by 2 plus 2. This is the general condition. Now, so as I have explained yesterday, so now in order to calculate this t of n by 2, t of n by 2 can be calculated by substituting n equal to n by 2 in the t of n equation. So substituting n equal to n by 2 in the t of n equation, so instead of this t of n by 2, we write 2 times t of n by 4 plus 2. So just we have substituted this n is equal to n by 2. So we got this one, that is 2 square t of n by 2 square plus this 2 into 2 I have written as 2 square plus this 2 I have written as 2. So generalizing this, if you keep substituting like yesterday we did for n by 4, n by 8 and so on, what we'll be getting is 2 plus 2 square and so on up to 2 power I into, I mean plus 2 power I into t of n by 2 power I. So this is the general form of the equation. So in this equation, if you substitute I equal to 2, you will be getting this one. That is 2 square into t of n by 2 square plus 2 power 2 plus 2 power 1. So this will be the general equation here. So now what we do is we have to take this part and equate it with the termination criteria. So n divided by 2 power I. So we have n divided by 2 power I. So this will terminate when there are two elements. So when there are two operations left over, it will terminate. So terminate when the number of elements left over are 1 or 2. So we take 2 here. So therefore n is equal to 2 power I into 2. So that is equal to 2 power I plus 1. So n is equal to 2 power I plus 1. So substituting n equal to 2 power I plus 1 in the general equation, substituting n equal to 2 power I plus 1 in the general equation. So here we can substitute n equal to 2 power I plus 1. So if we substitute here, what will happen is that this 2 power I and this 2 power I will get cancelled, and what will remain is 2. So t of 2 is a constant, that is a constant time. So t of 2 is equal to 1. Time complexity of a constant is equal to 1. So this will finally reduce to 2 power I. So if we substitute n equal to 2 power I plus 1, what we will be getting is this term will reduce to 2 power I. So the series will be like 2 plus 2 square plus 2 cube and so on up to 2 power I minus 1 plus 2 power I plus 2 power I. So 2 times 2 power I. So it is something like this. We have it here. So since we have substituted n equal to 2 power I plus 1 here, so this reduced to t of 2, that is equal to 1. And it reduced to this format of the equation. Now we leave this part as such, and in this part we remove the 2 outside. So if you remove the 2 outside from this part, what will happen is 2 into 2 power I minus 1 plus up to 1. So it is something like starting with 2 power 0 plus 2 power 1 plus 2 power 2 and so on up to 2 power I minus 1. So this can be reduced into this formula actually. Actually there is a proof for this formula, but we can somehow reduce this 2 power 0 to 2 power I minus 1 to, so 2 power I minus 1 divided by 2 minus 1. So I'm not going to explain you the proof here, just I'm saying that there's a theorem which will reduce the given series into this type. So just we are applying the theorem here. So now we got this here. So now what happens is that this 2 minus 1 is 1, so we ignore that. So what is left over is a 2 power I or 2 power I plus 1 and a minus 2. So these are the 3 terms left over here. So what I'm trying to derive here in this derivation is that how many number of comparisons are required if the DNC method is required. So that is my target or the objective I'm trying to achieve in this derivation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute this I plus 1 with n. So 2 power I plus 1 I'm substituting with n, and 2 power I, so 2 power I plus 1 is equal to 2 power I into 2, that is equal to n. So 2 power I is equal to, bring this 2 here, so n by 2. So 2 power I equal to n by 2. So 2 power I equal to n by 2. And this 2 power I plus 1 is equal to n. So this thing reduces to n plus n by 2 minus 2. So this is equal to, simplifying this, we get 3n by 2 minus 2 as the total number of comparisons that are required for the divide and conquer method to solve this maximum and minimum problem. Whereas in the case of the uh, direct method, the number of comparisons that were required were 2n minus 2. Whereas in the case of the divide and conquer, it is going to be 3n by 2 minus 2. So comparing these two, you can observe that the divide and conquer method requires lesser number of comparisons to solve the problem. Therefore, this can efficiently solve the given problem. But again, if you go for time complexity thing, it will be order of n. It is going to be order of n. So here also it is going to be order of n. Here also it is going to be order of n. Why? Because this algorithm is very simple. You will not be able to exactly visualize. Like I told you, you can only visualize if you take a real world complex problem and solve. Uh, you can visualize the significant difference between the time complexity when we are solving with the normal method and when we are solving with the divide and conquer method. So since here the problem considered or the algorithm used is a very simple one, so you are not able to exactly appreciate the better time complexity here. So you're getting almost the same time complexity as order of n, as in the case of the normal method as well as the divide and conquer method. So that is why I try to derive this number of comparisons and try to justify that derive and conquer performs better than the normal method. Any doubt? Any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay. One more example that we can give for this divide and conquer is the merge sort. So merge sort is something similar to the binary search algorithm, which divides the array into subarrays, solve the problem, and finally it will perform in the merge operation. So given an array with the left and right index, it will the middle element, and again it will call the merge sort recursively with the first half and the second half of the array. So it is first going to divide the array into smaller halves. So it is going to perform the uh, dividing the array into subarrays until left is greater than right. If left is greater than right, it is going to stop the process. Afterwards, it is going to merge all the elements. So it is going to divide the given array into two halves, that is 6, 5, 12 and 10, 9, 1. And this 6, 5, 12 again will be divided into two halves, that is 6 and 5, 12. And this again will be divided into 10 and 9, 1. And this 5, 12 will be divided into 5 and 12, and 9, 1 will be divided into 9 and 1. Then the merge process will happen. So when they are getting merged, they will be merged in the sorted order. So 5 and 12 will be merged into 5 comma 12. 6 and 5 12 will be merged as 5 comma 6 comma 12. So when they are merging, they get sorted. So similarly here 10 and 1 comma 9 will be merged as 1 comma 9 comma 10. And when these two are getting merged, they will be merged into the sorted order, that is 1 5 6 9 10 and 12. So this is how the merge sort will sort the given elements using the divide and conquer technique. The time complexity of the merge sort is order of n log n. So whereas if you consider the general sorting algorithms, they are of the order of n square. Whereas this whereas this merge sort, which follows the divide and conquer approach, will give a time reduced time complexity of order of n log n. So these are some of the examples for the divide and conquer technique. So I'll stop with this and continue on next week. So is there any doubt in this divide and conquer technique? So these are the algorithms that comes under the divide and conquer technique. The implementation part you will be doing in your lab. The merge sort using the divide and conquer approach, the binary search, all this you will be doing in your lab. So the details about your lab programs, I will let you know probably in the next week.
Okay, sir.
Venkat, note down the attendance. So is there anything we have to discuss? Okay. I hope most of your classes have started, right? Is there any class that has not yet started? Any subject? Okay, I think even for Automata, Dakshayani is handling the classes, right, this week? Yeah, he will join. Okay. What is the issue? Hmm. Yes, that is object-oriented concept, na? So do you have OOPS in your curriculum? I think it will come next semester. No. Okay. Like OOPS concepts are going on, but C++ language you are not aware, right? Okay. Uh, okay. So when Sanjay will join next week, when Dr. Sanjay will join next week, so during the first class, or yeah, during the first class, you inform him the same. So you tell him to like you tell him that you don't know C++, so he will take the class accordingly. So whatever C++ is required for your theory as well as the lab, you can request him to um, yeah, give like you can ask him, so he will deal with it. So we will see how it is going. After 1 or 2, yeah, after 1 or 2 weeks, after some labs, we will see how is it going. Okay, then we will end this session.